Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name's Hrabchak. In a moment, I'll be joined by my co-host, Lyss. And together, we have so much to talk about today. I often say that it's a packed show. Well, today, I mean it. The Winnipeg Jets have a game in under 2 hours. They're going to hit the ice at 11 a.m. against the New York Rangers. So it's a tight game day edition of WST Sunday Live. Obviously, they played yesterday as well, losing 5-4 in a shootout to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll talk about that. We're also going to be joined by Danielle Bain from TSN. People loved when she was on earlier on in the season, got some great reviews. Danielle was at Lyss's event last night that we'll get to right off the top. So super excited to be joined by Danielle Bain. And with her and with Lyss, of course, we'll talk about the PWHL Takeover Tour, which is in Winnipeg tonight, 6 o'clock, down at Canada Life Center as the Ottawa Charge and the Montreal Victoire do battle at 6 o'clock, Canada Life Center, the PWHL Takeover Tour in Winnipeg. So we have so much to talk about here on WST Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for like I said, a tight pre-game edition, game day edition. The Jets play in under 2 hours against the New York Rangers today. But let's bring in my co-host here on WST Sunday Live. Lyss Houde put on a great event last night in the midst of PWHL Takeover Tour weekend. Lyss, how are you doing? How are you feeling coming out of last night? And maybe I'll give you the floor to talk about your event and how you thought it went as the person who planned it.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, first of all, thank you so much for, teaming me up for this, but also for coming and for being my audio engineer, guys. Connor was the star of the show. That's the self-proclaimed title. Yeah, he had to push a couple buttons.
It's on my resume now, though. It is.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys a little bit about the event. There are lots of people that, we all know who were there yesterday. It was great. Connor was there. Murat was there. Carter Chen was there. I should have written down a list of all the people. Nick Lynham was there. Like all these folks that you guys would have known. Oh, look at that. That's from Connor's audio engineer spot, by the way. If you're watching the stream and you see the photo, that's where Connor was stationed. But I decided to throw something together with Next Door Restaurant. 2 years ago, I hosted an event there, trivia night for the Walter Cup playoffs. And it was awesome. It was such a good venue. They were so easy to work with and they love women's hockey. So I knew I wanted to do something in and around the Takeover Tour that was targeted more towards adults. So whether it was, aspiring professionals, existing professionals in hockey, or people who are just so excited about the women's game, hockey as a whole, want some community aspect around it that isn't entirely geared towards little girls. I wanted to put something together for that. So that was kind of where this idea came from. And I knew that the Manitoba Moose Celebrating Women in Sport Job Shadow program was this past weekend. So wanted to loop them in if I could. So yeah, it all kind of came together. We ended up having 2 panel conversations over the course of the evening. So the first panel was a local panel. It had Annie Chipman, who is the VP of Marketing at True North, as well as Raquel Payne, who is the ticket marketing manager at True North, and Danielle Bain, who will be joining us here in a few short minutes at about 9:30. And then the second panel was a traveling panel. So it was folks who were in town for the Takeover Tour game. So we had Kenzie Lalonde, who is a Montreal bureau reporter, but she's also the play-by-play announcer. She does a ton of Ottawa Senators games as well as PWHL games. So that's why she's in town. She's calling the game with Cheryl Pounder tomorrow. And then Rosa Authier, she is the event operations manager for the PWHL. So she does a ton with the Takeover Tour as well. And then Amy Shear is the EVP of business operations for the league as well. So it was a pretty all-star panel across the board, if I do say so myself, with both of those kind of conversations we had. Really, really fun environment. Super great to see so many people there. Mayor Scott Gillingham, shout out to our guy. He also made an appearance, which was fantastic. It was super great to see him there. He and I got to catch up a little bit, and he was telling me that earlier in the day he'd gotten to go to his first experience experience at first shift, which the Winnipeg Jets put on, and he was just over the moon. He loved it so much. So yeah, it was a pretty great event. It was awesome to see so many people that I know from so many walks of life, people I got to know. A lot of my family was there. It was just a pretty cool event, and I think a lot of people left feeling really excited. And when it comes to women in sport and gender equality in sport and all these different things, there are a lot of really heavy conversations that we can have, and I think it's important that we have them when it's necessary. But when given the choice, it's really important to me to prioritize celebration, and that's what it felt like this event was supposed to do, and I think that's what we did. So it was really fun. Yeah, I'm a little tired, definitely a little bit overstimulated by the end of that, just with how many people were there. We had over 100 people show up, and it was really cool. So thank you everyone for being part of it.
Yes, congratulations to you. You put on a fantastic event. I heard so many good things from people at the event, talking about how much they learned from the panels and all of that stuff. You paid, yes,
you, so,
yes,
yeah.
a lot of bribes handed out. No, great job. Super awesome timing as well. The night before the PWHL takeover tour is here in Winnipeg tonight, down at Canada Life Center. Pretty sure the game is sold out. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere, and cannot wait for that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up later on. But before we talk about how awesome it is to have the PWHL takeover tour here in Winnipeg, we need to talk about Gus Nyquist in the shootout. We need to talk about it. Let's go.
Unless I was just going through the motions so we could get to this moment. I knew 9:08 on Sunday. I was like, we got to talk about it.
Yeah. So look, we'll get to that in a moment. But yesterday's game against Pittsburgh, there are a lot of things that happened prior to the shootout that we can talk about. And the Winnipeg Jets, again, you look at the playoff line, you look at the draft lottery odds, and you look at, team tank, team playoff push, whatever you want to look at. They played well, I thought. I mean, they hung in there with the Pittsburgh Penguins, a playoff team. They took them to a shootout, which is actually right where you want the Penguins. They're 1-10 going into that game in shootouts this year. They got their second win in 12 attempts. But a lot did happen during the game. I mean, Dylan DeMello was on for the first two goals against, front and center, and got benched for the rest of the first period. He took 2 shifts, was a -2, played 37 seconds total in the first period, and then didn't see the ice again until the second period, where he started on the third pair with Hayden Fleury and Elias Salamonson, moved up to the top pair with Josh Morrissey. Pionk was back. That was another big storyline coming into the game. Neal Pionk playing his first game in 23, I believe is how many he missed. So great to see Neal Pionk back. He even got a goal in the third period, a nice shot off the post and in. And Brad Lambert. How about Brad Lambert with his first career multi-point game, gets an assist and then gets a goal to put the Jets up 4-3 midway through the third period on a snipe off the rush, kind of deflected off the defenseman, but who cares? You'll take it. Brad Lambert has 2 career goals, both of which are against Archer Seelovs and the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is maybe a weird trivia question for a little bit later on. So there were new lines up front. There was also a Roseanne Baron Lambert sighting up front that we'll get to, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Salamonson was with Morrissey, and then the overtime sequence, I mean, it was just pure chaos. The Jets took a penalty. Pittsburgh was all over them. Hellbuck was making some incredible saves. They were hitting the post, and then we got to a shootout, and the Jets trotted out Taves and Nyquist, and they both miss. And Taves hit the post. Nyquist tried to go 5-hole. Didn't really happen. And the Winnipeg Jets ended up losing this game, but I actually thought there was a lot to like from the way that they played in the first 65. Well, I'll go 60 because overtime was kind of a mess from the Jets' perspective. But I'll go with the first 60 minutes. There was a lot to discuss and a lot to like from a Jets perspective in that game. Lyss, what kind of stood out to you when you watched that game?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was that the Winnipeg Jets ended up tying up this game, right? Like you said, the first 2 Dylan DeMello shifts, like we were 95 seconds into this game and it was 2-0, right? Yeah. Like, and so the fact that we even got to the point where the Winnipeg Jets, were tied in this one, we got the callback goal, all these different things. And I wasn't watching at the beginning. Did Pittsburgh get to use a challenge twice, or did the league challenge that Morgan Barron one?
I was asking people about this, but because I don't think it could have been the league on the Barron one, because they didn't get it and then got a penalty. Like they got to delay a game.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
The second one, maybe, I don't know, because as far as I know, you get one challenge. If you miss, you don't have it anymore. But
yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe it's the sort of thing where it's like I understand like why if you have a really good penalty kill or something like that, but like if you're gonna get a penalty every single time, like I feel like if there's genuinely two, goals over the course of a game that you want to challenge, and if you get them both wrong and you have to kill 4 minutes of like I don't know, but that's neither here nor there because I just thought the rule was that you could only use it once.
I thought so too, and I was very confused. But
yeah, I don't know. But besides the point, just based on the fact that most games the Winnipeg Jets can't score 4 goals, and most games if the Winnipeg Jets are down, they're not necessarily getting back up, and all these different things. Like they had a hole early on, and I would say they dug out of it. Obviously, getting it to go to overtime, and it really sucked to give up the tying goal there, kind of closer to the end. And okay, I guess maybe to correct my point, I was surprised that the Winnipeg Jets were ever leading this game. I guess is more where I meant when Brad Lambert scored that goal, because yeah, like I just think that both kind of the emotional mental side of like trying to get back up, claw back in. Pittsburgh's a pretty hot team. They've been really overperforming this year. I'm obsessed with Dan Muse, all this different stuff. And then the other side of goals don't come easy to them. So having both those things go really well for them, like it was impressive to me. So yeah, I thought that was the most interesting part of it to me, was how big the hole felt early on, but then they made it feel not so big at all.
Totally. And we haven't seen that this year from the Winnipeg Jets, right? Like 2-0 in the first couple of minutes. Twitter was like freaking out. I was tweeting out too, like this game's probably over, just kind of what we've seen from the Winnipeg Jets this year, their inability to score goals, their inability to defend the slot and all of those things. And, Pittsburgh is a high octane team that's going to be putting up numbers and chances and goals. And I don't know, 2-0 early felt detrimental to the Winnipeg Jets' chances of winning. But again, well, they did end up losing, but they made it a game and took it to OT and were leading in the third. And look, even Mark Scheifele had a goal called back because of a Alex Iafallo high stick. You needed the closest camera angle and super slow-mo to find it. So there were a lot of things from that game that I liked. I mean, Lyss, let me just ask you quick thoughts on, Roseanne, Barron, Lambert as a line, because I thought they were great. And then Morrissey Salamonson as well. This is something, my Chuds Power Poll last week, I think it was the second highest thing. Well, number one was get Roseanne with some skill. I guess that counts too. Playing it with Barron and Lambert, I'll take that.
They got with some speed.
Yeah, some speed. How about that? Yeah, there you go. With some speed. And then Morrissey and Salamonson was number 2 on my Chuds Powersports Power Poll of things I wanted to see down the stretch that I think can help the Jets going into next season. So I was a big fan of both of those line changes. And obviously DeMello, maybe he starts with Morrissey again today because it was just a benching for the first 2 goals against. But I'd like to see more Morrissey Salamonson down the stretch. But your thoughts?
Yeah, so we did a post-game after the Bruins game on Thursday, and I don't remember. There's been a lot of Jets games this year, Connor. I'm kind of losing my mind a little bit. Did we see Roseanne, Lambert, Barron exactly like that on Thursday for a very brief period of time? Because I felt like I went off about something on that post-game show where Roseanne did get moved. He wasn't playing, and I think he was playing with Barron. I don't remember. I think it might have been Barron and Koepke or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But basically, I am calling back to that Thursday postgame, which was a callback to another postgame, which basically I said when they put him with Nyquist and Taves, I didn't think that was the most optimal combination for him. But the flip side of that was you could put him with pretty much anyone else that's actively on this group, and it would probably be some form of an upgrade in terms of what utility we'll see out of the player. And then so they put him, I want to say it was with Barron.
It was
I don't remember
Barron and Iafallo. I got that. And okay, Lambert went up to play with Perfetti and Lowry.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I remembered that Barron was involved in that sort of thing. And I was like, and then we talked about it afterwards and he said, how do you feel? And I said, I don't know if it's like the combination, but again, it's an upgrade. And I also think that this was an upgrade as well. I really, really like that trio. I think that there's enough skill there that you can get a little bit out of, this player. And he does have a little bit more of that scoring touch, that finishing touch, that kind of release, that tuck and release that I wouldn't necessarily say that Brad Lambert and Morgan Barron are necessarily known for, but they're great distributors. They're great on retrievals. They're super, super quick. This is another plot line that we can talk a little bit about, but Connor, are the Winnipeg Jets a rush team? Because like I feel like we've been seeing them skate the puck a lot more. I know I won't go that far, but they've been really working a little bit more. I feel like this entire season they've been starting to carry the puck a little bit more, and so I think that bodes well for that trio. So I would love to see them get to play a little bit more today in New York. And hey, like I don't know. It's been a pretty busy schedule for the Jets. Obviously, another 3 games in 4 days and, less than 24 hours between game starts here. Maybe some of their older, slower guys are a little tired. I don't know. Let these guys go for this game. Let them play. Give them some ice time. I think the stakes are high for the team, but I think we're almost in stakes are incredibly low territory. You know what I mean? So they're not feeling that yet. Obviously, they shouldn't, but I'm feeling that. So I'm saying let them run.
See, the stakes are allegedly high. When you talk to the players, and
doesn't want you to know the stakes are not high.
And most importantly, you talk to the head coach of this hockey team, the stakes are allegedly high. Allegedly, they're in a playoff push. They're looking at the they're looking at the out-of-town scoreboard every single night, which, by the way, they're getting help nightly on the out-of-town scoreboard. This second wild card has been there for the taking for weeks now, and
the 2026 Nashville Predators now have it.
That tells you all you need to know. But look, last night
I miss the Preds. They've been fun lately.
I saw a tweet last night. I'm trying to bring it up here. Yes, last night the Pacific Division made history list. It's the first time in NHL history a division had 6 or more teams play on the same day, and they all lost by multiple goals.
That is the most 2026 Pacific Division stat I've ever heard in my entire life.
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. So
I hate them. I hate them so much.
This team is in a playoff push, right? And I'll get to all of this is going to lead to the shootout last night. However,
of course it is.
Because it's crazy. Let me just say this too. If they beat the Preds in a shootout, they won last night's shootout, and they just simply beat the Rangers at home in their 8-game homestand last week, they would be tied for wildcard 2 right now. So you don't even have to go back to the 11-game losing streak.
Yeah, that's insane.
You don't even have to look at the last couple of losses. And the Boston one, they got blown out. That's not a game where it's like, oh, if they showed up. Like, okay, that one was never close.
But the ones that were actually there, so they're taking totes.
New York Rangers at home. Like, again, they're in a playoff push, but they won't beat the Rangers at home. Anyways. So I'm like Nyquist in the shootout. I'm overall on board with sending a message to Scheifele and Connor for a minute 40 OT shift where there's multiple 2-on-0s, multiple defensive breakdowns, Connor Hellebuyck-Bizio, and it ends in a penalty. Josh Morrissey takes a slash. And it's just, they had a rush with a minute into it and didn't change and all of this stuff. Like, I'm here for it. However, that message cannot be sent with Gus Nyquist. I'm actually okay with Jonathan Toews. And if you want to reference career marks and that's the route you want to go, Jonathan Toews, who's a near 50% shootout player in his career, has always been great in the shootout. He hit the post, a little bit better of a chance on that shootout, right? I'm okay with that. But the next guy out cannot be someone who has 1 goal this season. I don't care what their career mark is. I don't care if they're 100% in the shootout. It can't be. It absolutely can't be. If you're in a playoff push, which we could argue if this is the right time even to send a message because all of these points are so crucial, sending out Nyquist and then post-game referencing his career marks as, he's good, his percentage is good, which, like, again, I'm okay with that for Toews because he's like a near 50% guy. But Nyquist and Scheifele are, 37% versus 34%. So this isn't some big swing. Using that as the time to send the message, I'm not on board with. Also, if you're going to send that message, why not give it to Gabe Vilardi, who has maybe the best hands on the team outside of Kyle Connor? If you're not using Scheifele and Connor, why not give it to Brad Lambert, who's having a great game, and you can reward a young player? Why not give it to Cole Perfetti, who's 1-for-1 in his limited sample in the shootouts in his career, right? Shooting 100%, never missed, right? Very, very small sample. But I can't get on board with referencing career marks for Gus Nyquist when we've watched him all year long. He's gone from the middle 6 to the press box, to the 4th line, to now shooting shootouts in a game that is, again, allegedly very important for this team in their playoff push. I don't buy it. That's a message sent. And then again, our Neal, after the game, played we just wanted to switch something up in the shootout. And he might not have gone down the message sending route, or that might be a little bit of the message sending route. We just wanted to change something up. We're not very good in the shootout this year. That sends a message in the room. 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that the players on the bench who have been playing with Gus Nyquist all year long, seeing him go out for the shootout and miss and then lose, sends a message in the room, whether you like it or not. It absolutely does. So again, you look at the shootout last night, you look at the shootout against the Preds, and a home loss to the New York Rangers, who are one of the few teams below you in the standings. This team would be tied for wildcard 2 right now in the last 2 weeks. So I don't know, man. It just adds to the whole frustration, because you look every single night, and Scott Eno's talking every single night that they're getting help on the out-of-town scoreboard. The Sharks have been terrible. The Kraken have been terrible. The Kings are actually decent, I guess. The Preds have actually been the one team with a winning record in their last 10, so they just, by nature, fell ass backwards into wildcard 2 right now. But the Jets, it's there. It's there. And I can't believe they sent Nyquist out. I can't believe it.
Okay. I'm going to push back on you a little bit on this, okay? So here's what I'm going to say. I also have beef with this, but not for the same reason that you do. I think my reason is that I agree with the concept of sending a message or whatever you want to say, because the Connor Scheifele conversation has been ongoing for quite some time. I think that this is the wrong choice to send a message, not with who they send out, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but guaranteed they're going to come out at 10:30 this morning and we'll still be on the show, and they're going to be taking line rushes together. That's not a real message to me, because I don't think it really addresses the core problem of what, and I understand that it's a little bit more one-to-one where it's overtime versus shootout in that same game, whatever, but I think the message needs to be greater than that. And I think then, if you want to, if media is going to ask about it or people are going to talk about it, you can point back and be like, well, he did send a message and this is what he did. But it's kind of like a straw man to me, because I'm like, that's not a real message. You know what I mean? So I think that
interesting. Okay.
I'm a little bit unsure on that one. And then the other thing I will say is that it feels weird to talk about this player. I know he can score goals and all this different stuff. He hasn't had a great year, but the shootout is different than a game, anyone on this team can score in a shootout. Any forward on this team can
I agree with that, but
some of them are more likely than others. I agree with you.
You can't send him out, Liz. You can't do it. I know the shootout is different.
Really wanted to win the game, that you could have, sat those guys and put out Taves, Perfetti, Velarde, whatever sort of thing. But I almost wonder if it's a bit of an overcorrection to the point of sending the message, right? Where it's not because it's if they put out Velarde and Taves and then we didn't even know who is next and they'd already lost, you might just assume that Connor Scheifele was next. It wouldn't have been so out of pocket to send out those guys that you could have been I don't know, to me, this has been more aggressive. But then again, do you feel used if you're the player who's there, who's what the hell, man, kind of thing. So there's some back and forth on that for sure. But just my biggest gripe with it is not that I think it was such a bad choice to put out that player or anything like that. I just think it sucks because it's a short-term Band-Aid on the the team is capable of sending a message to Connor and Scheifele, when it's no, because that's not a real message.
Yeah, I'm here for that. And look, I just don't think you can send Nyquist out in the shootout there. And again, it's because of where the Winnipeg Jets are at and how much help they've gotten on the out-of-town scoreboard. They're in one right now. And it's plausible that they missed the playoffs by 2 points, by 1 point. It is. Yeah. It is. It absolutely is. With how bad the Pacific Division is and how nobody wants it, Seattle keeps losing. San Jose keeps losing. The Jets could absolutely pass these teams. A win against the Rangers today, they're 3 points out.
The situation in the standings last year, how close was Utah to making it to wildcard 2 last year? Because I think they were decently close, and they had lost 17 one-goal games or something like that, where it's that. And obviously they're in a bit of a different situation because they were on the ups. They're not a previous President's Trophy winning team or anything like that. But it's one of those things where it's it's definitely a bit of a dagger when you see how within your own kind of control, within reach, whatever you want to say, things kind of were, for sure.
Yeah, and in a season where the expectation coming into it and the players and coaches set the expectation of, Stanley Cup contender, that's what we were hearing in the preseason, to go throughout this season, the way it's transpired, and to go down swinging. And I'm not saying they're down and out. They still have a 6% chance of making the playoffs if you want to cling to that 6%. But to lose a crucial point late in the season, like going with your guy, Gus Nyquist, to me is just, you can't. In game 69 of an 82 game season where he has 1 goal, I don't know, man. It's just, I was shocked. I was shocked. Taves, again, wasn't shocking to me.
No.
I was like, okay, they're trying something different, but I know his career percentage is through the roof. And Nyquist is high too, but this is 2026. And
right.
I'm not playing Gus Nyquist in the
We
shootout.
used 3-year samples on JFresh player cards, not 15.
Yeah. It's like, wow, he was great in the shootout a decade ago. Which, again, Taves, I guess you could use kind of the same argument, but if you're doing something different...
Jonathan Taves was good at the shootout before I can stay home alone, guys.
Right, yeah. The 2006 juniors, right, was the...
Is it actually that long ago? Oh my God. It totally was.
Yeah.
I was starting kindergarten.
There you go. I remember watching... No, I don't. Anyways, is there anything else you want to touch on from yesterday's game list? When Danielle Bain joins us in a couple of minutes, we're going to get to last night's game. We'll get to the PW game today. We'll get to your event. We'll get to today's game against the Rangers. Anything else you want to touch on from last night's loss to the Penguins?
Yeah, I just feel like maybe I didn't give quite enough love to Brad Lambert. So just going to give him a quick, this is a guy that a lot of people have had some questions about and lots of okay, is there really an NHLer here and all this different stuff. Good for him. First career multi-point game. Man. And his second career goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Love to see it. Attaboy. And just good for Brad.
I like that. Yeah. Good take.
No, Thank you.
I number 5 on my Chuds Powersports power poll was to get Brad Lambert up the my power poll was Brad Lambert to get up the lineup a little bit. So look, I love the look of Roseanne, Barron, Lambert as it was kind of their third line. They were, even 5-on-5 minutes with the Lowry line, let's say. So I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. And I think that's a trio that can really work. They've got speed. And we're still learning the player that Isak Roseanne really is here because he's only played, I believe, 10 or so games since the trade deadline. We're going to be joined by Danielle Bain in just a moment. Saw her at the big event last night, PWHL game today, Jets, Rangers in an hour and a half. Crazy early game today. Let's bring her in. Danielle, can you hear me? Can we hear you? How's it going this morning?
Hey guys, you got me?
We got you. How's it going?
Guys, I'm on cloud 9 after that event last night. Shout out Lyss for such an incredible event. Everyone was so happy to be there. The vibes were through the roof. So loved seeing you guys there and meeting so many people in the community, guys. You know I'm new, but I was meeting people.
And there were some great panelists last night too, Danielle, I have to say. One of which was you. Great job.
5 good panelists.
Yeah, the 6th was just a call-in favor just to fill in.
Yeah, exactly.
Body double, yeah.
We'll ask you, we'll get to Lyss's event in a moment. We'll get to the PW game later today, Jets Rangers in an hour and a half. We'll get your thoughts on morning hockey games as well. But yesterday, Winnipeg Jets lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a shootout. You don't have to go down the Gus Nyquist road. Lyss and I already covered that, him being in a shootout.
Covered that.
Yeah. But just your thoughts on the game. Good game from Brad Lambert, Salamonson getting some more opportunity. What did you think of the Jets game yesterday against the Pens?
Okay, so first things first, there's been multiple games this season that we've been to in the press box where it seems like nothing's happening. It's these games are long, not a lot's going on.
Yep.
So for this one, it was a fun surprise
chaos
of entertainment. So that's first things first. Coming into this market, I asked you guys and other media members kind of what the fabric of this team was, what the identity, what they're known for. And leading into the season, it was always this team, no matter what the score is never out of it. Going through this season, that was something that they struggled to maintain, as you mentioned earlier in the show list. But this was really exactly how you guys all described this team to me at the beginning of the season. And full transparency, those 2 early goals, I'm thinking wow, it's over. I'm thinking it's over. We're not coming back from this. Let's see what happens. But it was just another reminder that I really do honestly believe when these players are telling us that they're not giving up, like they're putting everything into this. They really just do it. And sometimes the games don't reflect the effort that they put in, which is pretty frustrating for them. But I think that was number one thing that I noticed. Obviously, the DeMello benching, like that's just unfortunate, and he was just not ready to go.
Yeah.
It was clear he was just not ready to go. Maybe the early game time, you never know, this or that. It was just unfortunate that the 2 goals happened immediately when he was on the ice. Obviously, I don't think he'd argue the benching whatsoever. He's probably like, yep, that's a wake-up call. Seeing Salamonson with Morrissey, I loved, because I think that Salamonson has just game by game proven more and more that he deserves responsibility. Again, you only can chip away so much when you're so young and you've only had so many games. So I do believe it's kind of like the right steps forward in terms of his deployment, but then giving him that opportunity, it's like, all right, let's see what you can do, because you've been doing so many good things. And what's interesting though, I'd like your guys' take, is Morrissey, obviously we know as such a, offense-minded defenseman. Obviously he's really strong defensively as well, but Salamonson has kind of started also to become that, shot first mentality, and he's talked about that as well. So I'm interested to see kind of them as a pair and what kind of role Salamonson takes, knowing that he's with Morrissey.
Totally. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, because I think that we see that all the time with the way players talk about their defensive partners. And I actually call back to a random episode of the PDOcast that Brendan Dillon was on earlier this year, where he was talking about how because he'd played with all the other left-handed, right-handed players on the Devils pretty much that entire season already. And he's like, yeah, like you kind of have to go in with a different mindset with Dougie Hamilton versus, Siegenthaler versus Luke Hughes, and how it changes the type of player that you are. And we've seen it a bit with like Dylan Samberg when he's away from Pionk versus when he's with Pionk and stuff. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what Salamonson ends up becoming if he has a more stable partner kind of going forward, if there's a guy that he's going to be with, how that kind of molds his game. But you totally alluded to what we alluded to as well with like the whole, and coming out of it was impressive. Are there any particular players whose games you really liked in yesterday's game that you think kind of helped them kind of get the momentum they needed and start getting out of that, like players that you just thought had a good game, especially in the moments when it mattered most?
Yeah, you guys mentioned it, Brad Lambert, and again, it's been tough with this Jets team, because I think like the main thoughts behind the scenes were like, okay, we're going to get out of the whole season, right? Mm-hmm. Like I feel like it was like we're almost there kind of thing. So they just didn't really want to switch things up so much, because they were like, no, we're right there. And every player that we've interviewed like has said, we're right there. So I do see why they were like not wanting to put these younger players in before, although yes, definitely controversial throughout the season. But him coming in, I love, no matter what happens, if this team miraculously makes the playoffs or not, we're getting to see potential for what next year can bring. And Brad Lambert has really stepped in and has done a really great job. I think it's really tough when you come in from the AHL to really show what you can do with limited minutes. And someone like Brad Lambert, who is more of a speed player, it's really tough, especially if you're going to be on the fourth line here and there, right? So seeing that line yesterday, what we saw, I was really happy to see that. And he made the most of that opportunity. And that's something Scott Arneal's talked about this whole season, is like people are making the most of their opportunities that they're given. And I really think he did. Obviously, he got the assist and the goal, and like that's all shiny and nice. But I don't know if you guys saw after the goal, like he was so vocal and so fired up. And for someone who's not super vocal and a little bit more, reserved, like he was really in there with the guys, which I thought was awesome. Obviously, anytime someone scores a goal, big selly, but that one was big. I do want to talk about the shootout quickly. I have one take. Obviously, I let you guys cook before I hopped on and I listened to the whole thing. Connor, you're killing me. Here's my take, guys. And this is just another lens. And for me personally, as a reporter, like I love looking at dynamics between people and teams and coaches and everything. And throughout this season, and again, I have nothing against Gus Nyquist. He's a great person. Like he is a great teammate. Yes, he hasn't had the season that he's wanted in terms of production, but one thing that really stuck out to me, an interview a couple weeks back where Mark Scheifele, I believe it was, had said, Gus Nyquist is one of my closest friends on the team. And it was kind of like we obviously don't get to see the behind the scenes and them hanging out and them talking and stuff like that. And, it's his first year on the team and he's already, one of the closest to Mark Scheifele. And you kind of hear from other people that he's been a great teammate. Logan Stanley told me when I talked to him before he was traded that Nyquist has been someone that he's really leaned on to talk to about this and go to for advice and stuff like that. So my take is, would I have put out Gus Nyquist? No. But if Taves or Nyquist scores in that shootout, they are two of the most liked players on this team and two of the most popular guys in the room. That kind of just spearheads a different type of energy. Like if Scheifele or Connor score in the shootout, obviously everyone's pumped, but they're kind of, the guys. They're expected to score. It's like a regular thing. If Taves or Nyquist gets that goal and kind of pushes this team to a 2 points, I don't know. I think it could have sparked something wild and just like the excitement throughout the team and the energy would have been crazy because those two guys, like I said, are two of the most liked and well-respected guys on the team.
That is true. And yeah, that interview moment that you brought up, shocking to me as well. Because again, Nyquist pending UFA, you expect Mark Scheifele is one of his best friends on the team to be the Morrisseys, the Lowrys, the guys who have been here for a while. But yeah, the Jets go with Taves and Nyquist, doesn't work out. You said Brad Lambert, maybe not the most vocal player. One of the players who is very vocal, and I think it was like his first or second shift, TSM was going to a commercial break and they already saw him yapping with some players. Neal Pionk back in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. Very, very vocal player, likes to get under the skin. He had a huge hit late in the third period too. What do you think that can do for the Winnipeg Jets down the stretch here, having Neal Pionk back?
Neal Pionk, in my opinion, so far this season has been one of my favorite players to watch because of the entertainment value and because of what he's willing to do for the team. And him coming back, just definitely sends a jolt of energy. Whenever a key player is out of the lineup, it's more of like how long can we, keep this house of cards from falling over kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And not saying that Neal Pionk alone is going to be a game breaker in every single game. It's just you're kind of awaiting that moment of okay, how long can we keep this going? Especially with the trades that happened, right? So Stanley and Shen, even though they weren't kind of in the top four, they're out of the picture. New guys coming in. It's kind of just we can keep this going until Neal Pionk returns. So I think that they're all really happy that he's back. He brings that steady presence. And then it also gives opportunity that we saw yesterday for Salamonson to play with other people, right? Him and Samberg, I thought looked really good together in the sample size that we saw. And, Samberg, Arneal said that Samberg was already being a mentor to Salamonson, which I really liked. Mm-hmm. But having him back, it just gives more option in terms of D partners, in terms of them feeling comfortable to take those opportunities to rush. And, the energy he brings, I love it.
Oh, absolutely. I think the feel-good stories, if that's what you want to call it, of that decor, I think are huge right now for just kind of the vibes of the team and everything like that. So looking just quickly ahead to today, obviously some of those things that you mentioned are, continuing storylines into this game. Neal Pionk, second game back, all this different stuff. Just briefly, what are you looking for today? Maybe thoughts on some line combinations you might like to see or that you think we're going to see when it comes to forward groups, D group, whatever. And then also just the game start 23 hours after their last game start and just what you're expecting against the noted Jet killers, the New York Rangers today.
You know what? I still can't believe that Jets Rangers game from last week or the week before, whatever that was. That was a toughie. That was a toughie for the Jets. Very. But I think that, well, Connor, you mentioned they're getting help from the out of town scoreboard.
So much.
And it seems it's been 5 points back for weeks now. Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting spot to be in. I do want to see that Lambert line from yesterday that we saw, the young guns, the Speedies. I want to see them back together just to see if they can build off that and what they can do. Because I thought they had a great game and they really complemented each other's play nicely. And it's been nice to kind of see Roseanne get switched up to see where he works better and who he can feed off. And I do think he hasn't shown everything that he can be yet. And that's very normal coming over to a new team, new system, whatever. But I don't think he's shown his his full potential. So it would be nice to see him get some more opportunity with some younger players that have that speed like him. I do think on the back end, maybe Fleury comes out. I'm not sure. Back-to-back games. We'll see if Comrie plays. I mean, it's pretty expected that he'll play. But I think my focus would just be seeing how much Brad Lambert line runs with it today, see if they can build off yesterday. And we all know what's happening in the top line, so no need to even touch on that.
Exactly. We know what's happening up there.
Thoughts on Connor Scheifele, maybe?
Maybe.
And also, like, we just need to see no start like yesterday.
Yeah. Two goals down in the first
if
two
it's still
shifts.
0-0 within the first 5 minutes, I think they have a great start.
I think it's a win. And Eric Comrie, since going to the white cage on his mask, is like 5-0 with a .940 save percentage. So we'll see white mask Comrie back in action today. We'll see.
Well, what's interesting with Comrie too is like after the stint that he was in as the main guy when Hellebuyck was out for his knee surgery, he, after that entire thing and after he reflected on that, like he told us like it was some tough times for him mentally. And it was a tough time because he had never really had to go through that, right? Like and be that main guy for that long of a stint because Hellebuck's been so healthy. So I think that he actually learned so much from that stint and really just kind of zeroed in with Wade Flaherty and just kind of talked day to day, especially with Hellebuyck as well. I think I saw on Twitter, I don't want to steal this because I will always give credit to whoever's tweets. Maybe you guys can remember who wrote this. Maybe it was Mike McIntyre. But, you know, he said in the room last night or yesterday afternoon after the game that Hellebuyck was still fully in his equipment, still talking to Comrie yesterday, right? So I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like they talk so much hockey. I don't even know if they talk anything other than hockey, those two. But Comrie, I think, has really learned so much about himself and his game this season that I'm not surprised to see him on the run that he's on.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been, as the starter, maybe didn't go his way, you know, the save percentage way lower, but as the backup, he's been a strong backup. And if you remove those 3 weeks, it's been a strong season from Eric Comrie, which I guess you could say that about the whole Winnipeg Jets team. If you could remove 3 weeks of any point in this season, I think they'd probably be in the playoffs right now. But
my grandma had wheels, should be a bicycle, brother.
There you go. Well, we're gonna get to the PWHL game in just a moment, Danielle. But I first want to ask you about last night, and I'll ask this question because Liz put on the event. But how much fun did you have last night at the Celebrating Women in Hockey event at Next Door Restaurant? Great venue, great vibes, lots of people. The mayor was there. You were obviously one of the panelists. Just maybe share your experience from last night and how much fun you had at that event.
My goodness, it was so fun. And I've always loved the game of hockey. Like it's literally my passion. It's one of my favorite things. I grew up playing. And so just especially for me too, like I grew up in Mississauga, which is right outside of Toronto. And even back then, like there was a full girls league. Like I've never played hockey with boys. Like, and so many people that I talk to grow up and they're like, yep, played with boys because there was no girls league where I was from. So I was super lucky to grow up in a place and grow up in a family that was able to put me in hockey. And so I've always been around girls in hockey. Like it's always been so normal to me, right? And so to see these events and to see so many women passionate about the sport, like Liz, you and I don't work with that many women in hockey on a day-to-day, right? Like, so to have that full room of so many women who are there because they love the game and they want to grow it and they want to share their favorite thing with each other, like it's just such an amazing feeling to have because you're all just so hyped up. It's like, you know, people that love the same thing. Once you're in a room with people who are all passionate about the same thing, you could go for hours, right? Like I felt like I could have been there all night. But no, the experience was great. It was so fun hearing from the different panelists. I thought you did such a good job of selecting different positions and different people with different perspectives, which was really cool. And to hear more about the league, like I haven't had the opportunity to work directly with the PWHL. So I haven't really actually been to many games, haven't worked or covered the league at all. So this weekend is my first time covering it. So I just was so excited to hear where they're at, what they see in terms of growth and kind of just the momentum that the league is picking up. And it was just amazing. All in all, 10 out of 10 lists.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I might go on like a super quick soapbox here to build on what you just said, because I think it transitions really well into what I want to talk about next. And so you talk about your experience with, girls hockey and stuff. And that's something that I feel like cannot be understated, is this whole concept of representation and visibility and all this different stuff. And the example I always give for you, it's girls playing hockey because that's all you know. Big thing for me is this whole idea of like women working in sports and women in sports journalism, women as sports broadcasters. When I grew up watching Sarah Orlesky on every single Jets and Bombers broadcast that I watched, anytime someone would say like, oh, like it's harder for women in hockey, or like women can't do this or whatever, it didn't really clock for me, didn't really register, because I was like, well, yes, they can, because Sarah does it every single day. Yeah. When your reality is your reality, like it's so important to understand that your experience, like it's really hard to understand things that aren't your experience, right? So this whole idea of if you can see it, you can be it. Like you can acknowledge that other people have experiences that aren't the same as yours, but when you get to see things every single day that, defy these norms, they become your norm. And so I think that that's what is really cool about this whole PWHL emergence and everything, is that there will be another generation kind of growing up where people are like, women can't play hockey. It's not really going to register for them the same way that, it did for us when people would talk about women's pro hockey growing up, because it was a reality that no, there weren't people playing every single day, getting paid to play pro women's hockey all day, every day. And that's not the reality anymore. So it's pretty cool to get to see that. And so that whole idea of exposure and visibility and representation in all these spaces, I think just it's so incredibly important for shaping people's perspectives kind of going forward. And so now we get a taste of that in Winnipeg tonight. Today, we get the Victoire versus the Charge at the Canada Life Center. How stoked are you for it? What are your thoughts on kind of the takeover tour as a whole, and what you're kind of looking forward to tonight?
Okay, so I have only been to one PWHL game, and it was in Toronto. And I was telling Amy Shear this yesterday. I said, I'm sure you've heard a million stories about fans, but I have to tell you this. When I went to the game, directly beside my seats was a dad and his younger daughter, and he was just explaining the entire game of hockey to her throughout the whole thing, like trying to just explain the game. And tell me why I was almost in tears. So just that one small moment that I experienced at that game, knowing that that's going to happen for the city of Winnipeg, like there are going to be girls today that go to this game and fall in love with the game of hockey, and that could shape the rest of their lives. It's something so small as, to one day, one game, one moment. And for that to happen in this city, I know how much of a passionate city this is when it comes to sports. So for girls and women to have the opportunity to come watch this game, see this league in action, and they've probably been waiting for it for so long. Liz, you mentioned you drove 8 hours to go see a Minnesota game. Was that in season 1?
Yeah, home opener.
Yeah, in season 1. And like people are doing whatever it takes to see this league in action. So it makes me just so happy to know that lives actually can and will be changed today. It sounds dramatic, but it's so true. And I'll finish off this little question with the story that I shared with you guys and the rest of the guests yesterday.
The Cheryl Pounder story?
Yeah,
please
exactly.
Do.
Like
please
I would
do.
love for your viewers to know, because I talk about, one moment that can shape or kind of carve a path for people. And that's what happened to me. And when I was young, I think I was about 8 years old, I was going to a new school, and the elementary school, I walk in, the gym is called the Cheryl Pounder Gymnasium. And I'm thinking like, that's how I knew I was going to be a journalist, is because I would question everything. Like I needed to know why things were the way they were. So I'm thinking, I need to know, why is our gymnasium named after this person? Like, who is this person? I go home that night, I search her up on the internet and find out she's a gold medalist at the Olympics, because they had just won in Salt Lake the year prior. And I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, like girls play hockey too. And like, they're actually really good at it. This is crazy. So that's why I started playing hockey the next year. I asked my parents, like, I think I want to play hockey like this person who the gym's named after. I want a gym named after myself one day, obviously. So I started playing the game of hockey because of Cheryl Pounder. And it's those small moments of representation, like you mentioned, Liz, where it's just like, you never know what that's going to do for someone. And I fell in love with the game. I kept pursuing my love for it. Obviously, I am not even close to a professional hockey player. We'll just put that out there. But I don't know if I would be in this career path or this role without that moment. And I was so happy to share that with Cheryl last month when I finally met her. The fact that we're colleagues now is just super full circle, and just it excites me that people will get those opportunities today.
Absolutely. Really looking forward. Thanks for sharing that story. That was such a cool one that I heard last night, but heard it again today.
Fun.
Still awesome. And yeah, that's awesome that you got to tell Cheryl all about it. Danielle Bain from TSN, thank you so much for joining us bright and early on Sunday Live. Early game today, 11 o'clock. We're just over an hour away from puck drop between the Jets and the Rangers. I usually let people plug, where they can find their stuff on the way out. But for you, I guess it's just turn on the TV. Just go on TSN,
turn on the TV, Sports Center, baby.
Sports. There we go. Well, Danielle, thank you so much. Great seeing you last night, and thanks for hopping on this morning. Really appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You do such great stuff for the city of Winnipeg and sports, and it's always a pleasure coming on. You guys are the best.
Thank you, Danielle. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the Jets game today, and we'll talk to you soon. And the PWHL.
Bye, guys.
See you later. There she is, Danielle Bain from TSN. Super, super thankful that she was able to join us this morning here on WST Sunday Live. Packed show. Jets, Penguins, Jets, Rangers, PW. True to my word. We're not even at the segments yet, Liz, and it's almost 10. We are rolling. All right. Well, do we want to get right into Chuds Powersports?
Yeah,
Powerful? Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
Okay. First, I need to go on a little bit of
this
slideshow
is going to be the
myself.
best ad read ever.
This is, yeah. I need to go on a little bit of a. Let me just quickly save our Chuds Powersports Power Poll and get it up here. Today we are doing top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference playoff race. So we talk a lot about the West, and look, in the West, nobody wants it. In the East, everybody wants it. So we're ranking our top 5 teams that are in the thick of that wild card race. Basically everyone except Tampa, Buffalo, and Carolina, which crazy to include Buffalo in that list of one of the teams that's a lock to make the playoffs. They've been so dominant over the past 40, 50 games. So we're going to get to that. But first, I'm giving a shout out to our friends over at Chuds Powersports, which Huss, Remo, and I trekked it up there to Gimli this week, corner of Highway 8 and 231, and we had an absolute blast. Liz, look at some of these photos from the showroom out in Chuds. They were, they were transitioning from their winter season and winter sales to the spring. So, they had a lot of sleds out front that people were picking up that day and all that stuff on the end of the winter kind of thing. And then, of course, you see here, there's bikes, there's ATVs, there's quads, Polaris equipment. There is so much going on here. There it is, Chuds Powersports in the flesh. This is crazy. And we've got a photo coming up here. This was Huss interviewing Ray Neufeld and Derek Meach, Winnipeg Jets legend Derek Meach.
Yeah.
I might add. So this was awesome. Thank you to the Chuds staff and everyone who helped us out. The Derminator helping us out, ordered us lunch from a great local spot in Gimli. Had some great burgers.
Wait, what spot? Where'd you get it from?
Carlos. It was a burger, and it was incredible. Nice. I want to say Carlos or Carla's. It was something like that. I don't remember. That this day feels like weeks ago, but it was awesome.
1,000 lives since then. Yeah. Brad Lambert scored 2 NHL points since then. Exactly. We were here for the Winnipeg Jets town takeover, which was in Gimli for that Jets Bruins game. Wish the Jets could have given all the kids and all the Gimli locals a better game to hang out for. But great being at the showroom out in Chuds. Here's the town takeover. At the Gimli Rec Center. They did a great job. Everyone was having a great time. They showed it on TSN. No. But look at this. This is an Argo. Now, I'm 6 feet tall. Well, we'll go with 6 feet. And these tires are up to my shoulders, essentially. This thing is huge. We pulled up. Those are 4-foot tires.
Okay. Relax. I pulled up and parked, and this Argo was right in front of my parking spot. And I was like, Huss, I need to take a photo with this thing. This thing is absolutely massive. So that's
what do you need that for? What is?
Dude, just ripping around. What else do you need it for? Just rip around town in an Argo.
It's one of those things that Gabe Velarde could afford but would never buy because it's like, why?
There you go. There you go. Nicely done. Yeah, so this was an absolute blast going out to Chuds. Shout out to the Chuds staff, the Derminator, and the whole crew. They did a fantastic job. The hospitality on Thursday was top notch. And it was great for me to head out there. I'd been to Gimli and Winnipeg Beach many, many times in my life camping, but I'd never actually been to the Chuds Powersports Superstore that I talk about every single Sunday here on WST Sunday Live. So it was awesome to head out there and check out some of this great equipment here that they do have and meet the whole crew. Like I said, their hospitality was top notch. Well, that about says it all. I could get into my full Chuds read. Go check them out, corner of Highway 8231. Go check out that Superstore for yourself. ChudsPowersports.com is where you'll find a lot of their deals. If you can't make it out to Gimli, all of that stuff. And like I said, they're moving over to their spring stuff now. So boats, trailers, RVs, a lot of great equipment up there at the corner of Highway 8 and 231, Chuds Powersports, or online, chudspowersports.com. Let's now get to the Power Poll, which is the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference wildcard race. Coming in at number 1.
Wait, top 5 that we want to see, like, right? Like, that we're excited about. This isn't like, or is this like how good they are?
This is how good. It's also by good they are.
Okay.
Is it not? I mean, I'd argue it's by how good they are.
I guess by how good they are, maybe not likelihood necessarily. I don't know.
No, like, yeah, we're not ranking them by likelihood of making it. We're ranking them by strength of team. Okay. Or like, yeah. I mean, that's how I ranked it.
Okay, cool.
Feel free to.
I was doing it based on vibes.
Okay, well, vibes. Columbus Blue Jackets number 1. So. yeah. Columbus Blue Jackets number 1 by far. Rick Bowness has turned them around, 18-2-4 since taking over as head coach of the Blue Jackets, and they're now in a playoff spot. They're not even in the wild card race right now. They're in the Metro playoff spot, so they're rolling. Montreal is in an Atlantic playoff spot at 3rd, but tied with Boston or near Boston, and they're firmly in that wild card race too. They're number 2. Pittsburgh, who we saw yesterday, number 3. So much offense from that team. Erik Karlsson is having a resurgence from the back end. Very, very fun team to watch, as we saw. It was a very chaotic game. Ottawa, number 4. Now, if they could get a save, if the Ottawa Senators could get a save from anyone, they would probably be 1 or 2 on this list, in my opinion. They are... You look at their underlying numbers list, they are very, very strong. They're a very strong team. They lose a lot of games where their goalie gives up 3 goals on 19 shots kind of thing. So they're number 4. And the New York Islanders, who have slid a little bit coming out of the break because of, well, not because of, but they went and added Braden Shen, and it hasn't helped at the deadline. So they're number 5. Earlier this week, they might have been up in the top 3. They've slid out to number 5. Thoughts on this list, Lyss?
Okay, so when we were putting this together, I thought we were doing it based on like who we want to see like make it in, who we're excited about, who we enjoy watching, all this different stuff. Like, so the Columbus Blue Jackets are at the top of this list in terms of vibes, in terms of performance lately, in terms of all kinds of different things. So everyone knows I absolutely adore the Columbus Blue Jackets. I have ever since they drafted Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's been my Eastern Conference team, and I've wanted them to take a step for so long. And like, I remember like the Yegor Chinakhov pick in 2020. I'm like, okay, like let's start getting a little bit of excitement here. And then they had all these young players, and just none of them seem to be clicking. And now they're clicking, right? We got Marchenko, who's a stud. Kent Johnson is doing stuff, and like it's so much fun. They're the best. I love Adam Fantilli. I love Sean Monahan. I love their whole team. So it's awesome. So they're number 1 on this list. The Montreal Canadiens, for the same vibes as last year. They're just so much fun. Absolutely adore watching them. Cole Caulfield hat trick last night? ? Like they're
Mr.
firing.
Saturday
they
night.
4 goals.
How many times this year have we fired up Sunday Live where Cole Caulfield scored the night before? Probably.
How many Sundays have there been so far this season?
Honestly.
Exactly. So they're fun. I love some of the young pieces as well. Would love to see Patrick Laine be a contributor to that group as well for the remainder of the season. Pittsburgh Penguins, obviously, we got to see them in the flesh yesterday. They're such a fun team in terms of they go out there and everyone has a job and they do that job. Like, for those of us who are just like hockey tactic nerds, they are like the team to watch this year. Like, I've just been obsessed. I've been trying to catch as many Pittsburgh Penguins games as I can. So love them. The Sens, exactly like you said, they have so many good players. Like Jake Sanderson getting to the point where he's like one of the top 10 defensemen
for
in the
sure.
NAP.
Hurt right
he's
now
not
though.
10, 9, 8, or 7.
That's probably another reason they're lower. He's currently injured.
For sure.
So.
But I mean, you see the difference between a St. Louis Blues and an Ottawa Senators. Neither team can buy a save. One of the teams is good. One of the teams is not good. And, it's crazy to see how much goaltending can impact a team, but then also what the team can do sans goaltending when they have that many good pieces, right? So it's and then the Islanders, Matthew Schaefer alone makes them exciting for me, but outside of that, they're definitely one of the hockey teams of all time. And so it's pretty impressive to see 50 points, 20 goals, whatever, just insane stat line for the kid who can't even buy a beer and won't be able to buy a beer for the next little bit and could play World Juniors next year, right? Like, what a stud, what a legend. Absolutely adore him. So the Eastern Conference has had some fun hockey, and teams actually fighting for that wild card spot or their divisional spots, right? Because they're all up for contention as well at this point. Like, you could still make it out of the wild card easily if you're any of these teams. So it's been fun to watch over there.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And when we were putting this list together, I thought it was top 5 teams. So I was arguing with Liz about the Boston Bruins being on this list. And I, on my personal non-consensus board, I would argue them over the Islanders, personally. I mean, Sorokin and Swayman, both teams have great goaltenders, but Boston has that game-breaking offensive threat.
Boston's a better team. I just don't get excited about them. I find them boring. So that's
why the Islanders are number 5. Boston is currently in the number 1 wildcard spot. We saw them pump the Jets this week. The Pens and
Boston and Detroit.
Yeah, the Pens and Detroit. Okay. Not on the top 5 vibes or good teams list. I'm sorry. John Gibson they have a negative goal differential. Anyways, John Gibson had a legacy run for like 2 months and they found themselves in the spot they're in. Anyways, Montreal, Pittsburgh is 2, Columbus is 3 in the Metro, Boston, Detroit, New York, Ottawa, Philly, kind of in there, game in hand, 4 points out. And Boring Sean Monahan in chat brings up a great point. Philly, who's not even in our top 5, they're 4 points out of the playoffs with a game in hand, would be first in the Pacific. Like, you go down, Anaheim has 80. Anaheim has 80 points. Edmonton, Vegas, LA, Seattle, San Jose, Winnipeg. Well, Winnipeg's not in the Pacific, but you get my point. Unbelievable, man.
But every single team in the Pacific Division has like just rancid vibes to me right now. Like, obviously they're bad just across the board in terms of points. My friend Annie, she's a massive Ducks fan down in Southern California, and she was making like content about it yesterday about how the Pacific Division and everything, because she's a huge Ducks fan, and she's like, this is a family matter, guys, like, stay out of it. I was like, that's so true, because like I wish no positive thoughts to any of the teams in that division. Like, I don't like any of them, and they're all poor right now. I'm like, this stinks. I can't believe, like, that will definitely be the divisional matchup I'm the least locked in on, for sure, no matter who the 2-3 is in that.
The playoff format is a whole nother rant. I guess if we wanted to go to 11, we could bring up the playoff format, because a
bathroom break, I'll let you know.
A Pacific Division team is going to make the Western Conference Finals out of that, unless Utah, which honestly I have faith in Utah beating an Anaheim or Vegas or Edmonton right now.
I think the thing is, though, is that like the other side of it is that I genuinely don't think I think Edmonton obviously is better than their record. They could actually come into the playoffs and, beat whoever and all this different stuff. They're just
without Draisaitl?
No, good point. With half of a Draisaitl when he's back and hopped up on
playing on one leg,
that would kill a small village. But and then Vegas, I'm such a Vegas believer just because I'm such a Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner believer. I'm not an Aiden Hill believer, so it's a little tough. But like, I think Vegas is also better than their record. I don't think Anaheim is better than their record. So I could see Vegas kind of turning it up a notch, to be honest with you. So like, it's not necessarily going to be awful hockey for every single divisional thing, but You're totally right that one of them does have to make the Western Conference Final to a degree, and that's
exactly. And look, like, I agree with you in theory that the Oilers and Vegas are just going to turn it on at some point, but it's like TikTok, man. We got 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We got 3 weeks till the playoffs.
I'm saying they could. Like, I don't think that, like,
I agree with you.
Especially any of the teams below the 3, like Seattle, LA, whoever, like, no, like, but I think that there's a little bit more under the hood for those two teams, just based on everything we've seen with their core players in the last few years.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And like, you look at the West too. Washington is a team that is almost like done in the East. Like they have to pass so many teams, and I believe they're 6 points out, or maybe even 8. They're tied with the Utah Mammoth in points, and Utah is safe. Utah's good.
The only thing I will say is, talk about playoff format, this, that, whatever. I agree, like, bring back the 1v8, whatever. I don't think that we should be going like league-wide 16 teams. That's not what you're saying.
I also agree. Right? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Good. Like some people propose the 1 through 16.
Hell no. No.
I'm not here for that. That's a little
What's
too...
the point of conference hockey then?
That's a little too much, yeah.
I'm almost at the, like, I love the fact that teams have to play within division so much, and you keep seeing these same things like you do in the NFL. Like, I love that. It sucks because it's really hard to get out of, but like, also lock in, like, be better than, I don't know. The downside is that it gets boring. So there's a little bit of that, but yeah, I think leaving things up to conference and having those matchups where it's like a team that you play twice in the regular season, I agree with that fact that you shouldn't see them until the final. Like, I have no problem with that at all. But yeah, I think the 1v8 is the perfect middle ground of getting a bit more equity kind of in the standings, but then also still making the regular season matchups matter more.
For sure. And, if this is how the Western Conference 1 through 8 standings is right now, if you want to do the top 2 seeds are the winners. This is
so good.
Yeah,
this would be such a good, oh my god. I know,
gosh. Colorado, Nashville, Dallas, Vegas, Minnesota, Edmonton, Anaheim, Utah. But I'm also on board if they don't want to fully, just like scrap divisions altogether. Give the top 2 seeds to the divisions. Like make Anaheim the 2 seed here.
Yeah.
I'm also okay with that. Then the rest, and then so 1 and 2 is locked in, playing 7 and 8, and then 3 through 8 is just best. I don't know.
The AHL?
Sorry?
Isn't that what they do in the AHL?
I think so. They do. I think it is, yeah. And it just seems like there's, which way you want to spin it, it seems like there are many better options than the current format, which would see the number 2 and number 3 team not only in the West, but let me go to league standings. Number 2 and number 5 in the league playing each other in the first round.
The only thing I will say, in terms of playoff formats and everything, the only thing I think that would be worse, that's a plausible way to do things than what we have right now. Like, the strongest feeling I have about playoff matchups is I don't want play-in games or play-in like wild card, any of that stuff. That NBA? Is the worst idea. Yes, that would be horrible. So no, none of that.
I could see the league probably doing it though. Sadly,
would be the only way that it works is if it's like for a solid buy for like the top 8. No, even that I hate it. I'm not in for that. Regular season is so long. Like if we turn it into like you just have to make the top like 20 in the National Hockey League and they have to win a game, like garbage. Just garbage. It will make the regular season so snoozeville. Like it'll be so bad. It'll be so bad.
Yeah, well, we'll have lots of time to discuss the playoff format when the playoffs are happening and it's Dallas, Minnesota.
Like, the second round and everyone's gonna be like in a bloodbath and we're like, so like what do we think Morgan Barron's contract
his extension eligible? Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a blast. I absolutely cannot wait. All right, let's get to our next segment on the show. We did our Chuds Powersports Power Poll. Shout out to Chuds. Let's get to trending up down. This is the part of the show where we pick one Winnipeg Jet who's trending up or down over the past week of play. Last week, Lyss, for up, we took Iafallo and Barron. For down, we took the third pair, Bryson and Fleury, the third pair at the time. That was before Neal Pionk returned. So let's hear it. What's your pick for trending up?
Man, got to pick my guy. I've been giving him some love all show. I got to give Brad Lambert some trending up here. Obviously, we knew he was going to get a decent leash after the trade deadline passed, but he's gotten better with each game, in my opinion. Like he had 1 or 2 games there where he was kind of invisible and everything like that, but he doesn't have a huge role, doesn't have a lot of NHL experience, all this different stuff. Yeah, Doug in the chat's on the same page as me.
On board.
Bingo bango. I'm blind. I can't even see. Lambert up. Yeah. Trending up. That's my goat. So yeah, Brad Lambert gets my pick for this week.
I love it. He was absolutely on my board. And this guy's always on my board. But I'm going to take my guy, Dylan Samberg. There haven't been many opportunities for me to take him this year, admittedly. Like last year, it felt like every single week Dylan Samberg trending up. I was just hitting the button, because he was quite literally in a top 4 role and just kept exceeding expectations. This year, slower start for him, absolutely, but he has been awesome. He's been great since coming out of the break. They're up 9-5 in Samberg's. The Jets are up 9-5 in his 5-on-5 minutes since the Olympic break. They've got a 56 expected goal share in his break. The pairing of him and Salamonson had a 61% expected goal share list since the Olympics, so they were dominating their minutes. And last night against the Penguins, with Dylan Samberg on the ice for roughly 25-on-5 minutes, the shots were 9-3 for the Jets. The goals were 1-0. The expected goals, 74%. Scoring chances, 16-4. High danger chances, 7-2. Like, they're dominating his minutes. Only 3 shots on goal on the road against the Penguins last night in a lot of 5-on-5 minutes. And the Dylan Samberg thing, too, to me, like, what makes him so great are these little plays in the neutral zone that turn possession in the Winnipeg Jets' favor, right? The zone entry denials. He's not Josh Morrissey. You see him get the puck at the blue line, and there's a sense of panic. Like, he's not generating all of these scoring chances himself. But where he creates his value, there was early in the second period, and I'm probably going to clip it before today's game starts against the Rangers. Early in the second period, first shift of the second period, Crosby is coming down on a 2-on-2 rush against Samberg and at the time Pionk. Again, early in the second period, Samberg plays a tight gap on Crosby, poke checks it, and like a great play in the neutral zone. And Adam Lowry picks it up, and the Jets go down 3-on-2, and Cole Perfetti gets a high danger chance in the middle of the slot directly off of the play in the neutral zone. So that to me is like why Dylan Samberg goes underrated a little bit. He makes that small play behind the play that turns possession over. And what people remember from that is that Cole Perfetti had a high danger look in the middle of the slot. But if you rewind 5 seconds, it's because Dylan Samberg played a tight gap on Sidney Crosby, poke checked the puck, and the Jets got possession off of it. So I have loved Dylan Samberg's game coming out of the break. I think he's playing well. The neutral zone is evident. And obviously, we'd all like to see him add a little bit more offense, which he has not done. Only got 1 goal on the season, but I still think that defensive game is fully there for him, especially so coming out of the break. Lyss, who do you got for trending down?
Yeah, I was looking at our list, and you know what? He's my guy. But
I know where you're going.
We haven't picked him since 2025. He's been safe for almost the entirety of Q1 2026. So I do have to give Dylan DeMello my trending down pick for this week. I am the world's biggest Dylan DeMello truther. I think that he is the underrated glue that has kept this team from being in rebuild territory for the last few years. What he's done for Josh Morrissey, and therefore what Josh Morrissey has done for, Connor Scheifele, Velarde, everything like that. Like, it's huge. It's huge. That's a funny chat.
Dart skater. That's good.
I obviously the beginning of yesterday's game was a little bit on the tough side for Dylan DeMello, and I think that we've talked a little bit about this, that his time playing 23 minutes a night with Josh Morrissey in a high leverage way for a cup contending team is probably behind him. And that's okay. I don't think that, when you trade a third to the Ottawa Senators, that is necessarily what you thought you were going to get out of it, but it's been hugely, the upside of Dylan DeMello on this roster has been massive. And obviously it's not like he's leaving. It's not like his time is done or anything like that, but I just always need to give this disclaimer because I'm such a believer in this player. And I think he's been so awesome for this team and I really like him, but he's going to get my trending down pick for this week just because obviously the chances that came from just whether it's misjudgments or a step behind or whatever, especially on one-on-one defending, was not at the top of its game yesterday and hasn't been for the last little bit. So he gets my trending down pick for this week. Yeah,
like I'm with you on that, fully on board with Dylan DeMello. And then having said all that, let's play Elias Salamonson with Josh Morrissey the rest of the year. The trade was great for DeMello. I think he'll crush in a third pairing role if that's where he's at. But again, we look at the standings every day. This Winnipeg Jets team, not quite, in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. I'd like to see a young player get a look with Josh Morrissey. Now, we haven't taken this person. It's not a player.
Oh God, I know exactly where you're going with this.
I'm taking Scott Arniel. Like, you play Nyquist in the shootout. You're getting trending down, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. It just has to happen. I'm looking, Liz. We haven't taken him once all year for trending up or down.
Yeah, because normally we're not that lazy.
True, but I'm super lazy this morning.
No, it's okay. We definitely are that lazy a lot of the time. I look through some of these things. I'm like, Colton Porrico. I'm like, what is happening over here?
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics was tough, but.
Well, it's funny because I'm looking at these because I always write them in the spreadsheet for context for everyone. And there's like a random day in like the end of October where it's like we only have one person written for trending down. I'm like, I guarantee someone was like Zach Collaros or something like that. I just didn't even write it down because I was like, there's no point.
Oh, well, when was that? That was
October
November
26th.
Yeah, late October. That would have probably been right around the Bombers.
November 2nd. It was probably
when they lost to Montreal last year. I probably took the Bombers, 100%. Yeah. The one player that was taken that week for trending down was Luke Shen.
Yeah.
And then like the Bombers or something.
We lost our scapegoat. Now we have to actually.
Yeah, I mean like just
oh my gosh, there's some people on Twitter who track the number of times that players get like jackets over the course of the season. I'm like, I should write down who got our.
I'm gonna do this end of the year.
Yeah,
trending up award, trending down award.
Step up our trending up and down. Yeah, yes, that's fun.
I'm taking Scott or Neal. You can't take. Okay. You can't tap Nyquist on the shoulder in the shootout and get away with not being on trending down this week.
Me with the guy who's like,
yeah. You want me to go? Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I'll take Arneal. Funny thing is, I'm taking Arneal. I've actually liked, Morrissey Salamonson got a look last game. Roseanne, Baron Lambert. I liked the look of that. So there have been things that I've enjoyed about the lineup in these past couple of days. But the Nyquist thing for me. The game was yesterday. We have another game in 30 minutes. I'm taking Scott or Neal. Maybe he'll be trending up next Sunday. But anyways, Scott or Neal is my pick for trending down for the first time this season, coming off the heels of Nyquist playing in the shootout. Liz, let's get to our final segment here on the show, and then we'll wrap. Everyone can go and make themselves some breakfast, get ready for the game, 11 o'clock game. But before we do that, we have to get to our final segment. And this is one burning question. This is the part of the show where we open up the chat room to rapid fire questions, and we will try and get through as many as we can before we wrap today's show. So if you have a question that you want Liz and I to answer on the Jets, on the Moose, on the PW takeover, on whatever you want, drop it in the comments down below for our one burning question segment, and we'll answer as many as we can. Liz, how are you enjoying the PWHL takeover tour today?
Yeah, so I am going to go for dinner, early dinner, late lunch, who knows, whatever, with my parents and my sister and her fiance and my friend Miranda, who volunteered at the event yesterday. The 6 of us bought tickets the day that they went on sale. Didn't even, not cross my mind is not the right word because I definitely thought about it, but I didn't even consider finding a way to work to this because I was like, I just want to enjoy it as a fan. I'm a women's hockey fan. There's so many intricacies to the game that make it different from the men's, and it's a pro league in and of itself that I follow the same way that I follow like the NFL and stuff, where it's like I'll definitely come and talk about it just because I love to talk about everything, but I don't have the same finger on the pulse of it as I do with the Winnipeg Jets. Same way that I wouldn't necessarily go on a Pittsburgh Penguins show and talk about them because I don't know Ben Kindle's tendencies. So yeah, we're going to go get some dinner beforehand and just go watch the game. We bought tickets right in and around where my parents' season seats are because they love their season seats. So nice. Wanted to sit there 200s of the attack zone right up against like the glass of like the walk path stairs to get under. So there's nobody in front of you. So if people are leaning, it doesn't matter. So very passionate about our seats. So yeah, I'm going to be enjoying that. It's going to be so much fun. Little spoily / plug over here. New season of my podcast, Chell Chit Chat, talk about women in hockey and all that fun stuff, drops on Tuesday. 8 episodes this season that are all about people who are connected to Manitoba. There may or may not be a guest from this season playing in the game today. So it's going to be pretty cool to get to, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but so you'll have to stay tuned to figure it out. But yeah, so really excited.
The mayor was at your event yesterday. You got P-Dub players on the pod. Like, what's going on? going on here?
I just ask people, I just do things, guys, and then people are like, yeah, I also like doing things. We should do things together. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Just remember us when you're famous, please. Just remember us all.
Not you. I don't even remember you right now, so it doesn't matter. But so I'm really looking forward to it. What about you?
Yeah, I am as well. I'm hoping to catch the game in the press box, like going up. I'm going to be doing the post game. Thankfully, it's a very early game, very early.
Right.
Has, 30 minutes. Jets play at 11. So I'll be doing the post game with Tyson Ruicki, and then hoping to go up to the game and catch it from the press box, take in the atmosphere, all of that stuff. It's going to be awesome. So looking forward to that a little bit later on. Charge and Victoire.
Little heads up from everybody. Was chatting a little bit with some of the folks from the PWHL who came out to the event yesterday, and I guess the big thing about the takeover tour has been the merch just flies off the shelves. Like, people are lining up and everything. So if you are wanting to get some merch, get there early, because it's like a freaking Harry Styles concert out there. Like, people are lining up and they are wanting to get their hands on some merch. So if that's something that's of value to you, make sure you get there early and get in line, because it's apparently it's been a huge part of the tour so far.
Yes, absolutely. That was I mean, not shocking when I heard that yesterday, that PW merch is flying off the shelf. They have some really nice stuff. Let's get to some of these questions on One Burning Question. Doug asks, who gets called up from the Moose first?
Great question.
It's going to be a forward.
It's going to be a forward. I was going to say.
I'll go Braden Yeager.
Good take. Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. I could see that. I could see maybe either a Chibberkov or Zhilkin recall up. I could see as well. Sure. But I feel like Yeager, I think after this week, after the homestand, maybe the Jets are probably going to be pretty far out of it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, if everyone else keeps losing too, we'll see. But I think especially once the stakes get a little bit lower internally for the Winnipeg Jets, Braden Yeager is going to get his chance. And I think that that's probably coming up sooner rather than later. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. The Manitoba Moose, by the way, have a very good looking new website. Go check it out. Moosehockey.com. They did forget, though, to update Colby Barlow's stats. It still says he only has 3 goals. So if someone from the Moose is watching, just
Danielle Bain,
just edit that, because there's no way a guy who tucked 40 multiple times in junior only has 3 goals in the A, right? Anyways, Colby Barlow, 3 goals in 51 games. Anyways, it's not going to be him. It's going to be Braden Yeager is my guess. Anyways, let's get to some of these more questions. Waiters, who will win the Central Division? I'm still taking Colorado. I know they've slid coming out of the break, but I think they're going to ramp it up in the final couple weeks here. They'll have the Olympic hangover, like McKinnon, Makar, Natchez. They had a ton of Olympians. So I think there's a bit of the hangover from that still lingering, but I think they're going to go on a run and get back to their elite ways and win the division.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think that's fair.
Dallas has been incredible, though. Incredible. Like the fact that they've made this a race has been awesome. Without Rantanen, without Hintz, they've been insane. Without their top line center and top line winger.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, and their trade deadline acquisitions have been fun too.
Yes, absolutely. What are the chances Winnipeg gets a PWHL team? This was a common question last night, Liz. People want to know. I mean,
so I have some crazy takes about all this different stuff. I think that first and foremost, I think that Winnipeg in the next 3 years is going to get a women's soccer team. I think they're going to find a way to make that happen, either build a facility or something like that, find a way to get a women's soccer team here. I think that that's going to be priority number 1 for the city. But I think that Winnipeg needs to build a new arena for the Moose, for a WHL team, for a PWHL team, something like that. I think they need a facility kind of like the one they built in Steinbach in order to host something like that. Because I don't think that just in terms of real estate and how much goes on in the Canada Life Center, concerts, other sports, everything like that, I just don't know if it makes sense to have another team there full time. I don't think they can. I don't think it would work scheduling wise. So I think they either need a new facility or to relocate the Moose. So I think that the odds are good, but I don't think that they'll probably be in the next slate of expansion for the league. I'm assuming they'll expand again relatively soon. I feel like it's a little bit further down the road for Winnipeg, but they're definitely a contender, I'd have to say.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd have to think, I guess, is what I mean.
Fully agree. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of it does have to do with the Canada Life Center stuff that you mentioned there and rink availability and all of that. there's a few questions that are linked here about our Neal. Jay Miller, is our Neal the head coach next year? If so, why? Who should be the Jets' next head coach? On Jay Miller's question, is our Neal the head coach next year? Opening night next year, I think Scott O'Neill is the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. Do you agree?
I think he's not.
And I'm not saying it's the correct or wrong decision. I'm just saying I think the way the Winnipeg Jets are going to view this is that he had one good season, one bad season, 3rd year's a prove it year. I think that's the line of thinking they're going to use. Sure. So I think Scott O'Neill will be the head coach opening night 2026. I'll say
I think that's fair. I think from where I sit, the team obviously had a very disappointing year comparatively to last year. And,
for sure,
with most of their core pieces kind of locked up and just the unlikelihood is not even a word. You guys know what I mean. Of them trading pieces, the Nothing Ever Happens FC over here. They have to shake something up. And I don't think we're going to see a trade of some massive player. The most likely one, in my opinion, is Cole Perfetti just because of his contract status. But even that is not really enough. And you have to do something. And I think the team acknowledges they have to do something. So I think it's the sort of thing where it's like you can't fire the team, but you can fire the coach sort of thing. I am in agreement that it's probably a higher upside move to see what else is out there for sure. But I think that the team recognizes that you can't just go in to next season with the exact same group and expect different results. So, there were some variables that changed last offseason and it clearly didn't go that well. So I think more variables have to change here and they need to be higher leverage ones. So I think coaching is a place where they could definitely look.
Yes, absolutely. I'm fully in agreement there where there's going to be, and Huss has brought this up on the show before too, there's going to be a top to bottom organizational kind of reset and looking at everything from that sense. Sure. So, well, I'm not saying they're going to change everything. I'm saying they're going to look at everything and nothing's going to change. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're going to have lots of conversations and stuff like that. So, we'll see. Boris Shaw Monahan, do the Jets get 35 wins?
Oh my God.
I say no. They play Colorado a few more times, Vegas 2 more times. I know Vegas isn't that good.
No.
I'll say no. Yeah. 34 wins.
Michael Hutchinson, sure.
Wow. Ville Heinola.
Wow.
I can't believe you went to Hutch before Heinola.
Because Heinola is 14 to me.
Yeah.
For everyone always, because he's an NHL player. And I know that his NHL number this year is 34, but Gus Nyquist.
Right. Well, the
You'll
Jets
not be seeing the pearly gates. How dare you?
No. I mean, number 14. Heinola, if he's back next year, maybe.
Connor, I will cut off a limb if and give it to you if
Ville Heinola's back next year. Back. Wow. Clip that, mark that down. No, I mean, the odds of that are very, very slim.
Nobody wants that. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. Nobody wants it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Will he play today? Probably not. Second night of back-to-back, 3 and 4 nights. Team's exhausted. Too bad. Bob. Jacob Bryson. Although he wasn't even on the ice for warm-up yesterday. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he plays. Warm-up they're going to hit the ice in 2 minutes. So it's all good. Bob asked, will the Jets spend to the cap next year? Next year, like maybe, but as the cap keeps increasing, it's going to become less and less likely. They're not going to be a cap team.
Yeah. With all their guys locked up and stuff too. Like you have to bring in either 4 $2 million bottom 6 wingers or trade or pay some guy way more than he needs. I don't know. I just don't really see it in the immediate next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. K Thor, do we get to see Baron, Lambert, Roseanne together again today? I think so. Yes. Mike McIntyre from the Free Press asked Arneal about that line after the game. He said he liked it, and he said he wants to see more of it. So I'd have to think that they're going to stay together, and I'm excited for that. And I hope Salamonson stays with Morrissey, that line stays together, and all of those players play a prominent role for the Winnipeg Jets today as they take on the New York Rangers. That's going to do it for us from One Burning Question. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions in the chat down below. Really, really appreciate it. Lyss, Jets game in 30 minutes. P-Dub game a little bit later on. Enjoy your Sunday. Great work on the event last night. Congratulations once again. Great panelists, great event. sold out.
Great audio engineer.
We're packed in there like, yeah, you hired the best audio engineer, I do have to say.
Don't tell everyone about my paying rates because it's not very good.
There was no feedback on the mics. Everyone could hear from at each side of the restaurant. Whoever did the audio absolutely cooked last night. But anyways, anything else you wanna say, you wanna plug on the way out on this Sunday Live?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just that my podcast drops this week, so that's what
Yes.
I've been excited about. I kind of almost forgot about it because I've been so focused on the event and wanted the event to go well, but I wanted to put out the podcast immediately after the event so that we could kind of, build on this excitement in and around women's hockey here in Winnipeg. So yeah, first episode coming up with, you know what? Hey, I'm in charge. I'm not spoiling it for anybody but myself. First episode with Annie Chipman comes out on Tuesday. So usually I don't tell anyone who the guests are before the episode actually physically drops. But Annie Chipman's episode drops on Tuesday, first episode of the season, and then 7 more to follow with some amazing Manitoban women. So check that out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever suits your fancy. And I appreciate it so much when you guys tune in and enjoy.
Unreal. I don't even know my co-host anymore. Mayor's at the event, Annie Chipman on the pod, P-Dub player on the pod on a future episode.
You gotta just ask people. They usually say yes.
Yeah, I mean,
do things and people will come. Ask people things and they will say yes.
They will come.
Build it and they will come. If you build it well.
If you
build it about women's sports because everyone loves women's sports.
Boom. Exactly.
That's it. That's all.
Easy enough. Easy enough. We could all do it, I guess.
You totally could.
Yeah.
You gotta be willing to put in the effort, man. You got this.
I'm still trying my best.
Start your women's sports podcast. You got it.
Yeah, I got it. Well, thank you everyone for sticking with us on this extended WST Sunday Live. Thank you to Danielle Bain from TSN for joining us a little bit earlier on. Great conversation with her. We do have some notes coming from warm-up. Mitch Clinton, Mike McIntyre noting that Eric Comrie leads the Winnipeg Jets out. He's going to get the start. And Dylan Samberg is on the ice after taking that puck to the face yesterday. Our Neal did say post-game that he avoided anything serious. So Dylan Samberg on the ice, good news. Eric Comrie going to get the start. We will wait for line rushes, but we'll let people go and pour some more coffee, get some more breakfast, and settle in for Jets Rangers on a Sunday morning. Unbelievable. This is definitely the tightest turnaround for Sunday Live that we've ever had. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. Really, really appreciate it. From Lyss, I'm Connor. Thanks for watching this edition of WST Sunday Live. Thanks again to Chuds for the great hospitality this week, hosting us up there in Gimli for the Jetstown takeover. Let me take some photos with some sick Argos, all of that great stuff. Shout out to Chuds for sponsoring our power polls here at WST. And we will catch you all next Sunday on WST Sunday Live. But tomorrow, 1 o'clock right here on WST, we will have more reaction to this Jets-Rangers game, more of the storylines coming out of the weekend, and of course, the PWHL takeover tour tonight. So from Lyss, I'm Connor. Thanks for watching this edition of WST Sunday Live. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the game that starts in about 30 minutes. Check out the post game later, and enjoy the PWHL game later tonight. See ya.